Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Seat by the Heart. And yes, we are finally back after a long hiatus. I am back. I am Lotus Knight. I am your host for tonight, joined by our super special guest in this brand new, or well, we had one show, but basically new show. DankestDad, welcome to Seat by the Hearth.
Hello, happy to be here, Lotus, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's really great to have you, and I hope you're as excited as I am for a very different show tonight.
Yeah, I am, and excited to talk some Hearthstone, maybe play some games, and go from there. It should be a great time.
For sure. So I just wanna first of all thanks Righteous Jammies for the 3 month sub. It is much appreciated and much love to you and to our viewers. And with that, Dankest Dad, I want to ask you, who are you? Who is Dankest Dad outside of Hearthstone?
Well, for starters, if you don't like calling me Dad, you can just call me John. That's my name, and I'm 28 years old, data scientist, live in Ohio, and been around. Love board games. Love doing ultimate frisbee, other sports, hanging out with my wife. Yeah, that's what I do, and I like it a lot.
Nice, that's awesome. I feel like there are a lot of us that are data scientists or of some sort in the Hearthstone community.
Yeah, I mean, for a bunch of people that play a math simulator as a hobby, it makes sense that some of us would be into it career-wise too.
That is true. That is true. And speaking of Hearthstone, we're going to talk a lot about the game tonight, but I believe you have a special deck that we are going to be playing, and we're going to be starting with a rogue deck you built. Do you want to give us some insight on what the deck is, or what you're thinking, or should we just hop in and you'll give that after our first match?
Well, just as we're queuing, I can talk a little bit about it. So, this is a pretty standard 40 card Thief Rogue with a little bit of a twist. We've cut Gone Fissions and Theatar for the Sunwell and Valir the Hollow. And really enjoy this sort of deck because there's a lot of player agency and a lot of decision points, lots of opportunities to discover cards. Turns really aren't linear, and you have to plan ahead to either utilize your resources well and replay things or just go for tempo and try to fight down aggro. I really just like playing these sort of decks where I don't feel like I'm just at the mercy of my opening hand, and I think they're a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. This is a deck I have not played too much, although it is a popular deck right now. So it's going to be fun seeing how it is performing right
Yeah, I mean, I can say it's been awesome for me. I think between last season and before the patch and this season, I think I'm 27 and 8 with it. And yeah, Thief Rogue is just awesome. If as long as you can dodge Priest, seems like it's very strong.
now. Yeah, is it? I've seen a lot of it right now. I thought Priest was not that bad. Do you mean Bless Priest?
Yeah, Blessed Priest is pretty bad, and while the numbers for Naga Priest are solid, I do think that Naga Priest played well has a little bit more edge into it than most other classes.
So I think mulligan wise, I'm just going to keep Recon unless you have a different plan.
I think keeping just Recon is fine. It's probably Relics over aggro, but unsure. And I don't think Tooth or Prince Renethal is helpful. So,
Yeah, I
see?
mean, every once in a while, it just Tooth just wins matches against aggro, but it is fairly rare.
Yes. Prep is a great pickup.
Yeah, we
Mm.
can go jackpot into prep something or just hopefully get the 4 drop.
Yeah, prep reconnaissance seems like it's usually the stronger choice here, but for now, I think just playing reconnaissance is fine
Yeah,
and looking
but
for a 5. No 5. These are all very weak.
well, we can play Shadowborn next turn. So
Yeah,
yes,
Shadowborn Jackpot seems like the play. So give it a shot.
yeah, maybe we get something good with Jackpot. Maybe we get a Shadow Spell. Is there a good Shadow Spell we can reduce its cost by 3? Shadow Waltz?
Yeah, Shadow Waltz would be probably the best one that we could hit. Twisting Nether is in the pool. That's not great, but yeah, I think Shadow Waltz is the one we're looking to find. So Jackpot here and see what we see. Trickster is an awesome pickup. We can go Best in Shell next turn. So yeah, looking good.
Yeah, this is honestly better than I expected.
Yeah. I mean, Best in Shell is great. And, once that gets in the pool and can get recurred, it's a card we're happy about.
Yeah, I would
So yeah,
also expect Relic DH to hate that card.
yes. There's it will definitely be a bit of a pain when they start trying to turn the corner and kill us instead of winning board. Right. Oop. Yeah. It's this that doesn't change anything, but sprint is great reload.
Yeah, I can't see us changing because of this.
Yeah. And I think that we probably do want to step the trickster just because tempo is so important in this matchup and it would be unfortunate to just lose it to a Fell Barrage.
Sure. That's actually an interesting play. Just getting 2 mana sprint is quite strong.
Right. And depending on how the Demon Hunter plays this turn, it might just be worth saving for the next wave of big spells. Since there are a little bit more than usual in this version of the deck because of Sunwell.
Sure, sure.
So here, well, the Private Eye is very tempting, but I don't think it works this turn.
I don't see how we would play it this turn.
Yeah, I think then it's probably just Swift Scale Trickster Sprint, and if we find a Serrated Bone Knife, then Private Eye is playable. So, or Bone Spike, excuse me. But let's see. Sketchy Stranger, Trickster again, Perjury, and Bone Spike. Perfect. So, yep, prep, Bone Spike down the school teacher, and can play Private Eye. And even though this floats a mana, it's so tempo efficient, and those
Yeah,
can just
this
go
is
face.
so much.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really nice turn.
Yeah, Private Eye is one of those cards that it can do so much.
Yeah.
They had
It's
a Paladin equivalent, didn't they? Wow.
the Paladin that was the Bell Ringer from Witchwood, and it had the Death Rattle to get the second secret. But like in 2022, we've come so much further because these are 2 mana rogue secrets, and you're getting both of them up front. It's just such a great card.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
And now Gravedigger is all set for next turn as well.
Maybe we can send back the relic of, I forget the name of the relic.
Denathrius is perfect. Knoll is perfect. Relic of Dimensions, I think, is the one we'd want to send back. Objection, great.
Oh,
Now, I think we probably start with Gravedigger to see or Sketchy Stranger, one of the two.
sure.
So, yep. So let's see. I think in this case, it's probably going to be the since we can't really stop an attack. I think that taking the ice barrier is probably for the best, and then we can use our mana to trade this turn instead. And
Yeah,
ice
we can
barrier
trade
is
to
really
win.
good in multiples. So now Gravedigger and Knoll come down. And I think Kurtrus is getting put back. Yep. Send that face. Oh no. We're trading.
I tend to trade a lot. Something people might not know about me. I very often overtrade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like it's interesting though because when to trade or go face is something that I feel seems really obvious when a lot of people are doing it, but almost
Almost
all of
all of
us
us.
should be thinking about it more, myself included,
Yeah,
because I
because
feel
I
like uh, and like I think that's like part of the fun I have like doing a league with like, such great players is that like a bunch of us can all be looking at the same replay, and like me, you, Neji, Justin, like Nails, just to name a few of the people, all would probably have very different opinions about what should be done in each situation.
yes, that is true. And I think learning these is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I ever trade with a weapon here?
Everything goes face and you dagger up. I think that's the play here. Because you're never punished by the minion, and this sets up a lethal if you pick up Tooth of Nefarian or some other source of damage. You don't
You don't
mind if the
mind.
minion attacks your face because of Ice Barrier. Perjury is giving you something soon.
He did risk pretty hard into counterspell.
Yeah, I don't think they had much of a choice though. So,
No, definitely not.
yep, and there's Theno. That's scary.
Doesn't seem to have too much.
No, and I think the Ice Barrier kind of bails us out a little bit. But hopefully there is some removal for the Theno, or at least something proactive to do this turn.
Yeah.
Or Spike Objection again, stop Jace or Zalog. Those are
So
pretty good. I think it's the probably the Judgment of Justice, which is strange, but
yeah, I
I
really
don't.
want to take motion denied, even though I know it's a threat.
Yeah, I think Judgment keeps us alive, and if we stay alive, we win, and that works out.
So we have kind of gone into a lull in this game.
Yes. Unfortunately, there is no contraband stash or any of our cards to keep the value flowing, so this one has sputtered out a little bit. And they find Kurtrus again, but they're going to have to use both of those demons.
Yep.
And Denathrius is almost ready.
Yeah, it's probably still our win con just to Denathrius in 2 turns. Maybe get something good to play this turn.
Yeah. Oh, well, we can Denathrius right now. That's probably pretty good. And then swing the weapon, and we'll see what happens. But this at least leaves a threat on the board, puts us back to full health, and there's not an easy clear for them here. I mean, if they have the relic, they have the relic, but
Yeah, that's
this
true.
does at least put them on relic or lose, and I don't really mind that. Tooth still Tooth still beats them, so there's that burst damage there. Yeah, that works out. Jace isn't even guaranteed to kill this Denathrius. Okay, now it is. That's pretty funny that both those predations
Yeah.
got the hit.
I mean, we're actually not far from winning, depending on our draw.
I mean, Tooth of Nefarian's the game,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of good draws. That's not one of them.
Do we have to just play everything in Brawl just to kill that 7-5? I think so.
I don't think so. I think we have one more turn. I think if we play everything, we're more likely to lose than if we don't. Because most of their burst is gone now. Except they're going to have 11 damage to hit us here. And then if we brawl next turn, we should be okay. They need Zalag off of this relic exactly.
But I don't know that they kill us with Zalag.
Yeah. All right, that's a good sign.
Yeah. And then we top deck Tooth and Nefarian and win.
Yep. I mean, we are running out of bad cards.
Well, that's not what I want.
Yeah, the healing's a bit frustrating, but game is not over.
No, and we can always get an interesting out with Jackpot or something.
Yep. Well, now I think it is probably time to set up the brawl. So Trickster. Yeah.
You can't always trust what you see. Let's muddy the waters.
Wow, the deck really bricked here these last couple turns. That's not fortunate.
Yeah, this was fun.
You really love to see that.
Yeah, just no card draw, no way to end the game.
Yeah, well, we drew 4 cards with Sprint, but unfortunately the good cards were on the bottom. But that's Hearthstone sometimes.
That is totally fair. Now, I will keep us talking a bit about some of the questions. We've looked into this. I want to ask you, what deck do you enjoy playing? Like, what makes this a fun deck for you? What makes generally slow rogue decks a deck you enjoy? And what do you look for when playing in Hearthstone and when playing specific decks?
So I did say that I like sort of making lots of decisions. And I think that for me, I enjoy decks where I can have that skill expression. And when I'm playing my opponent, I can make choices and feel like my choices mattered and won the game. And, when I'm playing for stakes, sometimes I just bite the bullet and I try to draw my Guff, try to draw my Keleseth, try to draw my Drekthar and win the game with that sort of deck. But, whether it's Control Warrior, like a Zoo aggro deck, or even something like a little more mid-rangey, like I've really liked decks where I feel like, I can make lots of decisions and impact the outcome.
That's fair. And I do want to thank
Yeah.
Chicken for his comment on this is a jackpot deck in the end. But there's still decisions.
Yeah, and I think it really goes to show you something that one of the most skill expressive decks that's out there right now is a jackpot deck. So I'm hoping that the new set will shake things up a little bit and give me a few more ways to play.
For sure. I think I full keep this. Do you disagree?
I agree. I like those cards. Plus, our opponent thinks they're a paladin. That we're a paladin, and that gives us a lot of upside because they probably don't think we're making good choices already.
Well, it's better than it was in the beginning of the expansion.
That's true. Right. Let's see. So they are not phylactery.
No.
Okay.
We can bone knife recon.
Yeah, I think that's completely fine here. with no Null in sight, it's okay. And Jackpot makes Null 0 anyway. And oh boy, those are great. Imported
Yeah.
Tarantula is awesome.
Yeah, I
That's
kind of
a-
just want to take the Tarantula.
Yeah, that's perfect. It curves out. That's the one.
Yeah, I think with this deck, like you early play like a tempo deck, and then you play like a high roll deck or something. I don't understand what is the late game, but you do play a lot for tempo.
Yes, and usually last game was pretty atypical because what often happens is your hand is so full by the mid game that you actually have difficulty using all the cards. You tend to generate a lot of value with Sunwell, Valera the Hollow, Contraband Stash, and can go pretty long. I think finding a card like Brawl can be good in some matchups, but in the last one, it turned out just not to be very useful.
That's fair.
Okay. Yep. Oh, I guess Jackpot. See what's in the box. And those are awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So
I kind of really want a dagger.
yeah, I think Dagger's really strong in this matchup. I like going for it.
Lapdogs, all of you.
And I don't think it's worth going for the Perjury here, so makes sense to
No.
pass.
I'm also thinking of the Divine Toll.
Yeah. I think it depends on how they develop and try to react to this 4/4.
Fair. We
'Cause
also
Relic
don't
of
know
Dim-
yet if they're cursed or not.
Yes, well, we know now.
We know now.
So we don't want to play those. That's one of the things you'll learn playing this deck is that playing the curses is very bad for you, and you want to avoid that if at all possible. So
Sure.
I think here we probably want to remove the 1/1 with the dagger.
And then perhaps Soul.
Yep. And hopefully remove this Flame Imp. But never lucky.
No.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, this at least gets cleaned up somewhat nicely by our hand.
Yeah,
So-
and we have tests for next turn.
Yep. So I think we start with Relic of Dimensions and see if we find anything relevant. Oh, that's very relevant. And so is that. Great. So I think, yep, that happens. Kill the big imps. And then Sketchy Stranger. And probably just the wow, those are all very bad. I think Snake Trap is the pick though. We'll see if we ever end up playing it.
We do have Contraband Stash next turn if we don't want to go test yet, depending on our draw and their plays.
Yeah, the Contraband Stash is really slow, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Because we get the Tarantula, but then we're dead to a single curse.
Well, we also have the race.
These books are ruined.
Yeah. The Divine Toll hopefully can fight on the board. And then the Relic can do something, but they have such a full hand. This is all going to go face. Maybe if there's a Null involved somehow, we can get out of this. That actually doesn't help. I guess Trickster is actually better here to start. This is difficult. Okay. Well, Jackpot. That could be something. I think we Jackpot first. And it's Clean the Scene. Oh, it just doesn't work.
Let's muddy
Yeah.
Pretty sure we're dead here. Yeah, this is a tough matchup, and I think we almost had a
Yeah.
good hand.
Who knows what secrets will
Well, the no null was pretty bad,
unrose?
but this is not over.
No, I'd say this is over.
Well, we can contraband stash here. We have to mill the card because we need to play both of those curses. Uh, okay. I think that makes us lose for sure.
I'm still not convinced though, because if we mill the curses and do this first, I don't think we ever win.
Well, we clear the board and then we play the curses, but now we're just dead to the curses in our hand. Because it was a guaranteed board clear.
That's
So
true.
we needed them to not have another curse and then to either find healing or something, but alas.
They do always have the curse. Well, we can still do one more round, or we can go to one of the.
Let's switch it up. Let's go with the shaman. Let's try and shake things up a little bit. Yeah.
In the meanwhile, while we talk about the shaman, I want to ask you. And
Sure.
my question is, you're a player that's actually known as a deck builder. I want to ask you, what is the way you see deck building? How have you improved on it? Have you improved on it? What kind of decks do you like?
Your time is
So I think that with deck building, part of what I like is sort of looking at the card pool as a puzzle to solve. And all of us playing are working together to solve that puzzle at once.
Sure.
And, I think that Blizzard has actually done a really good job of printing a lot of cards that are relevant and do have a niche somewhere. And, on ladder, it's one thing to build a deck. You're just trying to get into the best overall spread of against decks that people are playing. But in Conquest and other similar formats, it is a lot of fun to build target lineups, go for many different strategies. And, I think that it's cool to express yourself as a player. And I like taking that opportunity.
That's fair.
the exit is this way.
All right. Was the maze guide kind to us? It was not.
So, in terms of expressing yourself as a player, though, do you think you've grown a lot as a deck builder?
Absolutely, yes. I think that things have gotten a lot better for me and I am a much better player than I was when I started. I think the piranhas here are probably the best way to clear this off. But like when I first was playing Hearthstone, I really did think that Stormwind Knight, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire was the way to go. And nowadays, I think that I can come up with some better stuff. I know that Reno Rogue in the last set was a deck that I had a lot of fun with and enjoyed. I think this time around, I've been enjoying different target decks, like bringing warlocks that can beat priest is a lot of fun. I think beating the jailer has been a challenge I've enjoyed, and I just like sort of learning more about how the card pool really works, and like going from there. Wow, you are drawing really well.
I kind of just want to go schooling and play more fish.
Yeah, I think that is it. So, looking at this though, oh, oh,
We just keep the fish train going, go thrall next turn if we can.
yeah, I think it's actually interesting because you really want to get this rattling rascal going. So if your luck is good here, you'll just pick up a muck pools and it's all fine.
Yeah.
That works out. Oh, Vosh Coin Maze Guide is it then? That's convenient.
Especially if they go big now, we can just go Primordial Wave. If not, we basically go Thrall.
I think it's Primordial Wave with Twin Fin for mana efficiency. But if they don't play anything, then just Tiny Toys. But yeah, it's just too good. Oh, Rat King too? Wow.
Nice.
You are better at evolving than I am.
Have you won a lot with this one? How good is this?
I just built this one today, so I am really just getting a feel for it, but I'm 50-50 so far. So, oh boy. Yeah, Rattling Rascal Wave. Let's go. And Rattling Rascal is a card that I am glad actually can finally do something now.
That's true.
Thank God for power creep.
Let the ritual
Oh no.
So can he
Well, looks like it's time to take some damage here. But our Rat King's back. Almost anyway.
Well, almost.
One more. I think it's time to play some curses. Yeah, I mean, I think you just go the Twin Fin and play the curses.
Yeah.
Because they need 2 more curses to sink us, so
Right.
hopefully that does not happen.
Right. Yep. This has been our luck for the day.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this is still winnable. Oh, ice fishing. That's something.
Yeah. It is.
I think we go ice fishing. Clownfish and amalgam. So we can clear off the Rafam. I think we play the. I think we're gonna clear off the Rafam here, right? So, but yeah, let's do the clownfish. Let's do it. Get the Great Murloc here.
We might have to go see guys.
I think Thrall is kind of the card you want in hand, though. So I feel like Murlocula is probably better.
I think we might be dead.
Well, probably, but yeah, hit the Rafam. A little bit of an ordering thing there, but that's okay.
Yep. Yeah, I realized right
Nah.
after I did it.
Yeah. And hopefully at least this Murlocula can hit in and they don't have the lethal setup.
I
But
think that Tiny Toys was our mistake, honestly.
probably, but I also don't know if we could have actually won this one. Their hand was perfect. That is just how it shakes.
That's true. That's
But
true. I think that's
We'll give
the
it
thing,
one.
especially with deck experiments, you are much more vulnerable to things like this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes they just draw the cards, and I think in that case, maybe going with the earlier evolve to try to beat the Abyssal Wave was the line, but sometimes they really do just have the potential to put 7 curses in your hand by turn 9, and
That's true.
that's just the unfortunate reality of one of the premier aggro decks also being the premier control deck. It's
That is true. So I have a question for you before we go back to the matches. We saved a special top 5 list before we go into our final 2 questions and our final 2 matches. and I wanted you to do Stankistat a top five lists of most fun cards to deck build around.
Oh, to deck build around in general. Okay. So, really racking my brain and going back, uh, I know that one of the coolest builds that I saw, I'll go with number 5 for this one, was one that Stan Sifka brought to one of the first Seat Story Cups and beat Brian Kibler with, but it was a Fell Cannon mid-range Warlock. And I
Ooh,
remember having, still being new to the game like we all were at that point, just being blown away by how cool it was to have a deck with limited minions that could actually make a card like Fell Cannon seem powerful. And, I thought that that build around was just awesome and a really cool one to watch.
for sure.
Number yeah, number 4 card that you are not going to see tonight, unfortunately, but number 4, I think, is Tamsin's Phylactery. So, I know we really only see it in combo these days, but Phylactery in mid-range is really fun, and, I've brought it to THL a few times, but it's really cool to, be able to gain 56 armor, say your turn, and just keep pumping out threat after threat. And I sort of loved like sort of the death rattle valuey warlock. And I think that phylactery actually, like on top of the combo, has other cool applications. Yeah.
What would be your
So
number three?
top three. Number three, we'll go back old again, and I gotta say, lock and load. And I was so happy last year when they buffed the card, and the lock and load quest hunter that Hunter Ace built was really cool. And I know that I played a lot with that and made refinements to it. And like I really like that style a lot because while there's a lot of randomness, it's kind of controlled to some degree. And you can keep sort of the chain of spells going. And yeah, that card's just a blast to play with. All
That card
right.
was
So
really fun. I really liked it. I tried to make it work in Quest Hunter, but it was never that good.
mhm. All right. So we get two more. Number 2, I'm gonna say Captain Hook Tusk. So I really, really enjoyed parts of the Sunken City meta, and like with the when Holy Paladin and Quest Hunter sort of came along,
Yeah,
I sort of found that Rogue actually had the tools to sort of beat and disrupt those decks late game. But the main problem Rogue runs into is that they have Rogue's healing. And Rogue just can't win when it only has 40 life against deck or 30 life against decks that are going along. So turns out Reno Jackson actually was the perfect fit and was good enough to let Hook Tusk do its thing, disrupt their combo, get value, and actually be a great card. And Reno Rogue was born, and I actually had a lot of success with it on ladder and in THL. And I think it's almost the most successful I've ever been with a completely original deck. And I just had, and not just original, but completely novel concept too. And I just, sort of loved being able to put the cards together in a way that felt like it wasn't intended. I thought that that was really great.
yeah, yeah.
All right. And I will give a quick honorable mention card. Spirit of the Frog was one of my favorites to build around.
I love
And I
Spirit
think,
of the
yeah. And my first leaderboard deck was in Rise of Shadows. I had a control shaman built around Spirit of the Frog that was really fun. That was, I think, the most successful I've been with a homebrew deck. And that was awesome. But number one card to build around is Elise the Enlightened. And the effect of duplicating your hand is just so fun. And I really loved like either in Wild for THL or in like the Born to Be Wild competitions using Elise the Enlightened to just go super long and get great value. And I think that my best ever game with it was going against a Linecracker Druid in Wild, having them pull off the full combo, gain over 1200 armor, and lose the game.
Nice.
Yeah. It was yeah, and Elise the Enlightened, of course, made it all possible. And it turns out 30 jades are no match for infinite Kazakusan treasures.
That's true. That's true. Feel like, especially depending on what you can get, it's going to be just so much crazy stuff you can pull with these, especially with duplication and lease.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you do the infinite lease thing?
So I had to in this case, yes, because with the druid having over 1,000 health and progressively larger golems, I had no choice but to do it. And my hope was just that I could go fast enough to win before the game forced a draw, which
Fair.
has happened to me before. So I try to avoid that when I can.
That's fair. That is a great list. I wish it had some of the cards that we're going to play in this next deck, which you can choose. Are we going rogue, shaman, or warrior?
We're going with warrior, and another one of my favorite cards that, well, I don't think I got to do as much experiment building around with. Well, I get to play Dead Man's Hand, and this is one of my favorite things to do in Hearthstone is armor up and pass, and I get those butterflies in my stomach and that giddy feeling when I can see that my life total is over 100 and I'm not going to lose. And well, hopefully this time we can simply draw the whole deck and go long.
If this is a dead man's hand mirror, I'm going to be shocked.
Nah. All right. So in this spot, I think, assuming it's in Rage Warrior, we probably only have to keep Forge of Souls and mulligan the rest.
Okay, so let's get some weapons in. Let's get some armor in.
Yep.
This might be rough.
Yeah, it could be, but 30 health makes me feel like it's Warrior. Nope, it's in Rage Warrior. All right. Forge of Souls. Let's get those Outriders axes. And against Enrage Warrior, Snowed In is actually great because they do all the work for us.
Yeah, it's just an execute.
Yep. So, yeah, shield block here over the tradable.
We
And
can
then,
even go from the depths next turn.
yeah, I think the axe is probably better here just for tempo.
Yeah.
And usually, like, we can use the depth right now, but since we're mostly running removal and not a lot of proactive threats, it tends to be better just to get the weapon online and clear off their board.
Especially when you have an easy kill like.
Yep.
Now, I want to ask you a question here as we are starting this game. You've been in THL, I'm actually not sure how many seasons, but I want to ask, how have you changed as a player? How have you found THL as an experience?
All right. So I think THL has just been awesome. And like since like I joined about a year ago now, I started right at the beginning of the Alterac Valley expansion. Yep. And I think that with that, like I mostly have played Hearthstone like a little bit with some friends, but it's usually been mostly a solo thing for me. And I think THL actually really broadened my horizons on that and, gave me a chance to interact and meet with a great community and great players. Like Hearthstone has a reputation as not oh, don't use depths. You need it for combo at the end.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. No,
But
no.
yep. So like I just was not expecting everyone to just be as nice, like willing to sort of, be friendly, reach out and just kind of, talk about a game that we all love. And, I
Yeah.
think it's probably like in a community like this, my favorite way to experience a card game. So, yeah, could not recommend it more. Right, so, looks like they're either control or charge. It's interesting.
I kind of just want to call to the stand here.
Yeah, we have two of them. I think it's okay to use one, and then we can at least slam and draw cards. So let's see what we hit.
Not for my forge.
Oh, that's not ideal. I guess we're still killing it to draw, but now we need to hold on to that second one for dear life.
Yeah. If we want to combo them, yes.
Well, we do need it to disrupt them.
Yeah.
So hopefully Forge and Flame is going to be available soon. Or we can just have enough armor. All right, there's one Dead Man's Hand. I think at this point, Buckler is probably the card that has to go. And then, did we see card draw on the bottom when we used From the Depths last time?
There was a shield slam, and I don't remember what was the final. Or a
It was Shield Shatter.
And I don't remember the other card.
Okay. And I think in that case, we probably just have to pass and let this turn go.
We don't have many minutes in our deck.
We do not.
This is going to be a slow one, but keeping talking about THL though. Which is your favorite format? You've played in so many of the different series. Which one do you enjoy the most?
So, I think that I've probably have had my most success in Pro, but I really do like the closed deckless aspect of the Legacy. And, this season has been great for me, but I think it hasn't always really been that way. And I just sort of love the element of, getting to, express creativity in deck building and make lineups in a format where, outside of THL, no one's really doing it. You can't exactly look to grandmasters and find a great closed deck list lineup. We're all doing that work kind of ourselves and figuring it out. And I like that challenge. But, last year our standings pretty scary. Not super familiar with it, but might have to give it a try sometime.
Hero is, I think, the most unique format because it's very different from the rest. It's all about getting decks that can sweep, while
Right.
Legacy is much more. There are other patterns. Legacy, you're just trying to hold the deck back. So it's quite a different style in a format like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're leaning into polarization in Legacy and trying to avoid it in Hero. It's a cool sort of contrast.
Yeah, except for interesting triangles. You can do very interesting triangle strategies where you basically do enough stuff to drive your opponent mad with just going with. Well, by that I mean you play a big card and. You play a deck A beats B, B beats C, C beats A, and then you kind of figure out what they play first and you pull a triangle strategy. So the first match matters more than the rest, but it is quite interesting.
Yeah.
I think I just go Buckler again.
Yeah, I think so too. And hope they don't have it.
So what is the combo we're looking for?
So the combo that we're looking for is a weapon forged in flame from the depths and typically one of the armor gain cards. And the idea is that once you reach the late game, you can just sort of infinitely gain armor as you chip them down with Rokara. So we can trade this hammer. That's great. And there's Forged in Flame. So I think here we're probably less worried about infinite armor and more worried about just exhausting their threats. So I think here we can just do depths and try to see what we put on top because we want to start emptying the hand so we can use this Forge and Flame. All right, depths is a card we can put on top for sure. And then we can start hitting with the weapon. And 9 cards.
Now, in the mirror, how do we win?
How do we win? So in the mirror, usually I think that the way to win is just setting up Rokara first. But I did not expect the mirror to be of large concern when I designed this deck. So
we may have an infinite game, but we're not.
I don't think so. I don't think so. They'll never be infinite. They're never Dead Man's Hand. Surely it's not the exact mirror. Okay, well. So far though.
It really looks like it's a mirror.
Oh, I'd like to thank 7. Well, we'll see. Huh. Interesting to think about what they might be doing here.
Yeah.
Really makes me sad that there's a 50 turn limit.
Is it 50? Wasn't it 40?
No, I'm pretty sure it's 50. But hey, I guess it's a Hearthstone trivia question we'll get to learn the answer to together.
That's true. That is true. Maybe I'll put that in the next Family Feud.
Definitely. All right. Another hammer trade. Okay. Shield Shatter. Perfect. Burn that. And then I think Armor Up. Oh no, he's not going to do it. Okay, phew. All right, Finley Sea Guide. That's good for us. Unless they remove it, of course.
They're getting all their...
I think this means they might remove the face. That would be bad for us. Let's see. Is the game over? Do they have full combo?
I don't see them as having full combo.
Dead Man's Hand. Here we go. Right? They hit Rokara first.
I actually play an infinite game.
Could be the case.
Okay. Not what I expected when I was preparing.
Well, it's not the content you asked for, but it's the content you deserve. All right, time to spend this call to the stand. It doesn't matter. All right. I think we need the axe still until we find another card, but a little bit unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to find a way to use these slams in Shield Slam.
Yeah, my problem right now is he does nothing. Might actually win if we build that these hands.
Well, okay. Forged Souls we can get rid of. That's always the hammer. There's one hammer, so can trade that. Okay. And there's Rokara. So, I think at this point now, we're probably screwed. Because I think that it's like a 1 in 3 that we hit this dead man's hand here.
Yeah.
I
Also, my
think we
problem is
also probably lose if we hit the weapon as well. Yeah. All right.
yeah. I think the other problem is just we have a ton of removal cards, but even then, we're eventually going to just have our hand filled with cards we can't play.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if theirs fills up first. I think.
I don't think it.
Me, unstoppable.
Oh, I forgot to hero power, but it doesn't actually matter.
Wow.
Now, I will start our final question since this is a very long match. Yeah, we can't do anything here.
I think you should concede, Lotus, and we should move on. I think that
Yeah.
there is no winning anymore.
Nope. This, yeah. Hey, we tried, which is what
Yes.
I will bring us back to our main screen for a final question of the night, though. I have one question. Given the current state of Hearthstone and the fact that we're having a new class out in a few weeks, how excited are you for it? And do you see this class as kind of bringing in a new golden age of Hearthstone?
So far, I think Death Knight is giving Demon Hunter a run for its money as the most obviously overpowered class on launch. Like Rogue, I guess, was there, but none of us were strong enough to see that. But oh my god, like these Death Knight cards are nuts. If you want to give yourself a heart attack, just look at the pool of things that School Teacher can discover. Oof. It's a really good class. And I will say though, I do sort of like the design in that none of these cards seem to be cards that, if you find them in your opening hand, they win the game. They seem to be high synergy and just do powerful things while working well together. And I just hope that Blizzard is willing to take the other 10 classes in a direction like that as well, where, the cards are, there are more cards like what Death Knight has, and there are less cards like Belinda and Guff.
Sure. And Harpoon Gun and many of the other single card win conditions.
Right, precisely.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it's been a big detractor from people this year that so many decks are single card powerhouses. Things like Spyglass Siren and even from the deaths to some extent, that it's just, do you have this card? Yes, you win. No, you lose.
Yep, and I think that at least for me personally, that's when the game is at its worst.
Yeah, I agree. But with that said, I want to ask if you have any final words, anything else you want to say. I want to thank you so much, DankestDad, for joining me tonight. It was great having you. It was great having a fun time seated next to the hearth. I hope you enjoyed it. If any of our viewers have any feedback, please let me know. This is a new format, so we'll be very welcome to know what worked, what didn't. We're here for it.
Well, I just want to say thank you again, Lotus, for having me on. It was a blast getting to play some, lose some Hearthstone games with you, but I still had a good time. And, thank you to everyone who's watching, subscribing, commenting. Appreciate it. And yeah, it's awesome to be here. Also, shout out to the Diamond Five. All my teammates this season have been incredible, and hopefully they'll let us do it again next season if we hit like 2150 PR. I'm sure it won't be a problem.
Oh, definitely not. No. That said, I want to thank DankestDad for being here. Thank all of our viewers. And I just want to say, Seed by the Hearth will be back at some point during this off season. I'm planning to do a few shows, but we also have a few specials incoming. We have Family Feud, and we'll probably have set review. I need to figure out what we'll do about that. Maybe we'll make a DK exclusive show. That sounds fun. But with that, I want to wish you all a good night. Hearth Center will be back as well next Tuesday, so come join us to hopefully get the legacy winners to talk to us then. Be it the Diamond Five or I forget their name every time.
Yeah, see,
season.
you can just forget it. It's okay. Diamond Five's gonna win, right? Right?
I think it is
Yeah.
the season 22 closed list conquest participants, but I might be wrong. It's Chicken's team, so we will see whether Chicken's team wins against the Diamond Five or not. But with that, we will see you all later. Have a good night, everyone.